What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Halving Report podcast. I am your host, Brad Bynes. The price of Bitcoin is, what are we at, 66,000 today, Mike?
Yes, 66,233.
That's awesome. A little bit of a bump. We're about 3.5 years left until the next Bitcoin halving. We're happy to have Mike Carson to the show today. And I just want to ask you to start off, Mike, if you don't mind. You came into this space a long time ago, from what I know about you. And, what initially sparked your interest in Bitcoin? And, what's kept you interested over the years?
Yeah, I'm a longtime user of Hacker News, and I think I first heard about Bitcoin. Somebody posted about it on there, and I think I ignored, the first if I would have read the first thing and got interested in the first link I saw, it probably would have been like 2011 or something like that, or 2010, maybe even earlier. I don't know, but I didn't get into it really until like 2013. But yeah, at some point I read it and I read the white paper and I was like, whoa, this is pretty awesome. I mean, it's like it's a nice the white paper is like it's not hard to read. Like, if you're not, a lot of papers like that you have to be like a specialist in the field or something to read it. But with the Bitcoin white paper, it's actually kind of simple, and it is, and so that's what kind of struck me. It's like, whoa, this solves this problem that's never been solved, and it did it in a really simple way that I can understand. So, and I was like, so at some point I was like, this is gonna really change a lot of things. This is revolutionary. And so yeah, since then I've been into it since then, basically.
Okay. So yeah, understanding how much of a world-changing technology and discovery Bitcoin was. Is Bitcoin a discovery or an invention to you?
I don't know. I guess an invention. I guess I call it a revolutionary invention.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I asked somebody else that, and they said once that the technology, the invention, and the philosophy was a discovery, which kind of resonated with me too. So you managed to have one of the first of the 50 Lightning nodes. So I just and apparently you made one of the first purchases using Lightning. So I just want to ask you what your experience was with Lightning back then, and how do you see it evolving today?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Lightning was really cool. I didn't understand it, and I still don't understand it as well as like Bitcoin. But I mean, I from a high level I do, but it's yeah. I mean, I've always been a hacker, try to get things to work and stuff. So when I first heard about Lightning, I wanted to try it out. Um, and so with a lot of help from like the IRC channels and stuff, I was able to get a node set up and working. And then yeah, I just Blockstream, they were the first to offer physical good. You could buy physical goods with Lightning, and so I bought some stickers and I asked them because I did it right when they launched, and I asked them. I was like, was I number one? And I I think Jack Mahler's was like number one because he was working on a Lightning thing, and then there was somebody else who's number two. I was three. Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, Lightning. I don't know that much about it. I just wanted to get it working and stuff. So I mean, I follow like some of the news and stuff, and it seems like there's some issues, but I don't really know that much about it. I've used it. I used it at like PubKey. I went to PubKey and bought a beer with it, and but so for me, it works. Every time I've used it, it works really well, and I think it's awesome. I mean, it's super fast.
Now you've had a career in the domain namespace,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I just want to ask you like how your background there has kind of shaped your approach when it comes to decentralized naming systems.
Yeah, I so in 2014 I started Park.io, which is a drop catching service for domain names, which means that well, when a domain name expires, sometimes valuable domain names expire, and then they come up for registration, and there's huge competition to get those names because you could register for like $20 and it's worth sometimes tens of thousands, maybe even $100,000. And so I wrote these scripts that would really try to get these domains quickly. And I through that whole process, I worked with the traditional domain industry with ICANN. I had ICANN credited registrars. I worked with the .io registry, .ai, other registries, and got to know how the domain system works and how centralized it is, and how domain names are really just digital assets. That's all they are. And through all that, I was like, domain names should definitely be on blockchain. And so started a company, Impervious.com, and we worked on decentralized names, and we worked with Handshake, ENS. We started with that for a couple of years and realized that they weren't like the best, well, that they could be improved, and there's nothing for Bitcoin. And so we built, for the last year or two, we've been working on the Spaces protocol to build decentralized naming for Bitcoin.
Okay. So Impervious, Cyberpunk, I'm just on your page right now, development for decentralized naming. Like, how does that work? Like, what does that look like compared to traditional domains? Like, what's going on in the background there?
Yeah, well, like with the problem is like right now the domain name system works just very similar to like how banks work in like money. Like, you don't own your name. Like you have to ask permission to use your name. You have to rely on the security of domain name registrars, other like third parties for your names, just like with money. So it's like so it's not like you should just be able to own your name. And it's the same with social networks, like on Twitter, or something. People have their names where, millions of people follow them or whatever, and it could be just taken away like that. And so, you shouldn't have to rely on third parties for this stuff. And so we build it on Bitcoin, and basically it's just you can own a name, and it's you own it. Nobody else can control it. And so it's your name, and you can use it. We created it purposely to be a generalized, decentralized naming system, so you could use it to resolve a website. You could use it for like a Nostr integration, so it'd be your Nostr username, or you could use it to like resolve an onion address, like so. Do Tor, or you could use it for anything. And also it's Bitcoin. Bitcoin in some cases is relying on domain names, and so it's a security risk for Bitcoin. It's an improvement to Bitcoin, we think, because instead of needing to rely on domain names, which are completely centralized and can be completely changed by a third party or taken away by a third party, you should be able to own it just like you own your own Bitcoin and rely on that.
So in that case, since you're not going to a third party, does your decentralized domain name expire?
It does. We have it built into the protocol to expire for different reasons. But basically, all you have to do is a Bitcoin transaction on chain to renew it for 1 year. It's right now it's set to 1 year expire, so you just have to do a transaction to renew it. There's also subspaces, but that's handled a little differently, but that also can expire.
The pretty neat Bitcoin flag you have in the background. I have one just like that, but with the black around the orange. I haven't seen the white one before, and then I have the all orange one as well. I have them up in a local tavern here where we've been doing our Bitcoin meetups lately, and the bars just left them up. So I'm like, okay, you guys can just leave those flags where they are. I like the promotion. They're cool with leaving it there. You're also working on Friendster. Do you mind letting us know what your role with that and what Friendster is?
Yeah, Friendster was the first social network ever before MySpace and Facebook. There was Friendster, and it was awesome. It was back like in the earlier days of the internet, where advertisers didn't run everything. It wasn't like this toxic environment when you went on social network, like manipulating you with algorithms and stuff like that. And so yeah, I through my like domain name connections, I got the previous company abandoned the domain name and the trademark, so I got it, and I want to bring back social network that I want to bring it back to how it was, where it's not run by advertisers, and it's a less toxic environment. And I also would like to integrate it with Spaces so that Friendster users have their own identity. They can control. They can.
So about the, social media and having advertisements and everything, like, is that something that kind of comes after? I remember watching, what's that movie, the Facebook movie with
Yeah,
Zuckerberg
social
and
network.
Social Network. And I remember them talking about this and how Zuckerberg didn't want to have advertisements. And I remember early days of Facebook, I feel like there wasn't advertisements, and then eventually it came. Is that I don't know, is that the fate of all social medias? Like, they start off like that and then they move towards that later on when they have that user base?
Yeah, I think you got to be careful. I mean, what I think the big problem is selling the user data, and also Jack Dorsey talks about this because he's a big proponent of decentralizing the
Hmm.
social networks and stuff. Because when he ran Twitter, he said the problem is that when it became a public company, he no longer really had control. He had to it was run by the advertisers at that point because,
Hmm.
and he basically had to do what they said, um, which included taking down accounts, taking away accounts from people if the advertisers wanted that, because he had a responsibility to, make the shareholders happy. So when it's a public company like that, so yeah, I think you have to be really careful, and I think it is important to decentralize it as much as you can, so that even if something like that happens, the users still have control over their name and stuff.
Right, right. So someone like yourself being in that space, what's your take on, the days of Twitter under Jack Dorsey compared to under Elon Musk now? Do you think it's better? Do you think it's worse? What do you think about the name change? What are your thoughts around that?
I mean, I really like Elon Musk. I know a lot of people I around here don't like it. Like when I talk about him, they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Elon Musk," but I really like him. I mean, I think he's doing amazing things with Mars,
Hmm.
and going to Mars, and I love Tesla. Like I have a Tesla, I love it,
Okay, which
and
model do you have?
I have Model Y.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. But I wanted to get the Cybertruck, but my wife was like, "Nah, man, it's too ugly." Yeah. So I mean, I don't know all the details of everything that's happened, but from my perspective, it looks like he's really, I think he's helping free speech. I think, what he's done seems to me that he's really helped free speech, but still at the same time, it's like it is centralized. So ideally, we don't have to rely on that stuff. There's nobody who could nobody has that power. That's the ideal thing.
Right. Yeah, an ideal world.
Yeah.
Nobody's making those decisions independently anyways. Definitely a lot of changes. I feel like it's almost too many changes too fast for me. I got used to what Twitter was, and then, but I'm seeing a lot of Bitcoiners, getting into Nostr and other sorts of things as well. What's your take on Nostr? Because a lot of Bitcoiners are really feel passionate about it, and I did sign up for an account, but I haven't been active. What's your take on it?
Yeah. I mean, I think I mean, I think it's the right direction. I think there's some things that, need to be worked out with the usability and stuff, but
Hmm.
I think it's great that it's, decentralized. And, I think the Spaces protocol is perfect for it, because right now it's like decentralized, but there's no username. Everybody has to share their npub, their key, which is not, it's not ideal. So when everybody can have a username, just find me on Nostr, like Mike at Bitcoin, then it'll be much easier. So I think it's a perfect integration opportunity for that.
Yeah, definitely. Just kind of pivoting back to Bitcoin a bit, like, what are you bullish right now? Do you think we're going to see similar run-ups, after the halving, like we've seen in previous cycles? What are your thoughts on Bitcoin in this cycle right now?
Yeah, I'm super bullish, man. I think it's going over 100K soon.
Okay.
I mean, don't take I'm not an investment advisor, but
Yeah.
I have been following it for over 10 years, watching. And I used to be a day trader a while ago, and
Hmm.
so I was into the charts and stuff, but I can't see it's hard to imagine it not going over 100K soon. And
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, it's just too, it's kind of one of those things that is so valuable. What other, there's nothing else that does like if you don't want your money in fiat, like maybe you could buy gold bars or something, but like it's not the ideal thing. Like I would much rather, instead of having like gold bars like that I have to carry around, I'd much rather just have a number that, or like, 12 words or something that you have
Hmm.
in your head. So
Yeah, you can't back up. You can't have a second copy of your gold bar,
yeah,
but you can have a second copy of your private key somewhere or something, right? So it's certainly a lot safer, a lot more ideal. I mean, you can break it down into each property of money and compare the two. And, obviously I'm here doing the Bitcoin podcast for the same beliefs that you have there. But so I think some people might say you're not bullish enough when you say only 100. I guess
yeah,
my interview yesterday, I think the gentleman, he works in the Bitcoin mining industry, and he was saying he hasn't been in as long as you. He's been in since 2017, which is when I got in, and he said something like 400K, and then maybe a correction down. And I've had a lot of people say into the hundreds of thousands. For me, I'm
yeah.
a little
Well,
bit more conservative with my predictions, like you.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's one of those things. Like what I've learned is like in bubbles, like in mania bubbles, like it goes way higher than people like every it goes way, way higher than people thought. And like, and also the opposite, like during a crash, it goes way lower.
Hmm.
But like during a mania, and with something like Bitcoin, where it's like, it's the world money, it's the only money that's like backed by math. And like,
Hmm.
it's so it has this huge, really good story. So I think I could see it like, especially if something happens to US dollar, I don't know, something like that. Like I could see it having a mania moment where who knows where it could go. It could go like, I mean, it could go up $100,000 in a day or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It makes most of its moves within, I think they say, like 10 days a year. It makes
Yeah,
most of its gains or something like that. It's a small number of days where those, and the rest of it's, down days or sideways days and boring days. But
yeah,
hopefully, we'll see a couple of those big green candles coming in soon. You, because of your background, what you work in, are you a fan of Edward Snowden at all?
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. I read his book Permanent Record probably like a year or two ago now, but just the amount of invasion by government and the relationships with some of these big IT companies and how much information is passed along. Like I'm definitely share that same ethos as you have with decentralizing and having that ownership and control of your online identity. That's I always recommend that book to people. It's really insightful, but is this something that you think realistically could go mainstream?
I mean, it's my view through all of this is that I mean the thing that's made me do all this is I have this really strong conviction that decentralized naming is so valuable that it's inevitable. It's definitely going to happen. Like I can't see a world where it doesn't happen because like you use names for everything. Like people have names, cities have names, streets have names, websites have names, companies have names. Like naming is everywhere, and right now it's all centralized. And like it's just needed. Like I from my background and stuff, I see it so needed. Just like money, it's same as like money, like decentralized money is needed. So to me, yeah, I think it's inevitable. I think maybe it's not Space's protocol, but something is gonna happen. It's inevitable. It's gonna happen one way or another. Some project is gonna.
What do you think the biggest catalyst for Bitcoin is going into this? Into the
You mean what would drive the price or
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I mean there's the the ETF thing now. A lot more people have access to that and stuff. But I mean, for me, the main like whatever a lot of things that drive this is like fear of missing out and mania and like the hype and stuff. So I think like once it gets over 100K, people are gonna be like, oh, I should have bought that. I'll wait till it dips. I'll wait till it dips. And then
Yeah.
when it goes over 200K, they're gonna be like, I can't wait anymore. Like they'll throw their money at, and then it's gonna shoot. Then that's what I feel like happens with a lot of these like manic bubbles.
Hmm.
I could see that. I could see that happening definitely with Bitcoin at some point. So
Would you consider yourself a Bitcoin maxi?
yeah, I think I am a Bitcoin maxi. I mean, I'm not opposed to other. blockchain projects. Like I worked on Handshake and stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I haven't found any. And that's why, like right now, we built spaces on Bitcoin, and we did it in a cypherpunk way. There's no pre-mine, there's no separate token. Even the auction proceeds, like if when you bid on a name, like if you want to get like the top level space at Bitcoin, the auction proceeds are burned, so it doesn't come to a foundation or anything like that. So we really tried to make it a point to be like cypherpunk, just like the ethos of Bitcoin. It's hard to find a reason. I haven't found something that's a compelling enough reason to not have its own blockchain right now. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but right now, to me, the best thing is Bitcoin.
What would you say your biggest fear about Bitcoin is? Is there any technical limitations? Do you think it could have any sort of negative impact, or something could happen to it where it breaks?
I try to listen to a lot of these smart guys. Like I went to the BitDevs meetup in New York City, and like super smart guys there, and like on Twitter, I follow like Matt Corallo and stuff, and his biggest fear is like the centralization of mining and stuff. So I guess that type of stuff. I mean, when some of these really smart core devs say stuff like that, it's worth like listening to and thinking about. So I guess, something like that is probably a problem worth, working
Mm-hmm.
on. I mean, but other than that, it's like, governments making it illegal or something. I mean, stuff like that, even though they
Mm-hmm.
couldn't stop it, they could make it really a lot more
Mm-hmm.
difficult for people and stuff. So, yeah, probably some of those.
Okay, so nothing that really is going to break it, but just, a matter of how decentralized Bitcoin mining network is, and, government bans, which, you already just stated, they don't really have full effect. They can make it difficult. They have made it difficult in Bitcoin's past. We've seen, especially China, how many times they've banned it, but we've just seen, 55% of all Bitcoin mining, I think, is still out of China, even though they've banned mining, right?
Yeah.
So that sounds good to me, because there's nothing you said there that I feel like Bitcoin's going to break. We've had 15 years now of uptime with Bitcoin blockchain, and the blockchain's never been hacked. What do you think the biggest misconception about Bitcoin is?
Well, a lot of people I've talked to buy into all the media stuff. They're like, oh, it's so bad for the environment,
Mm,
stuff like that, or it's only used by drug dealers and bad guys and stuff.
mm,
So, I mean, the environment thing is the one that is annoys me, I guess, because like it, I see a lot of how it's like good for the environment, how it does a lot of
mm-hmm.
good things. So yeah, probably I would think those
Okay.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, the environment thing, like I don't dispute that. Obviously, it takes energy, but I forget who made the argument or whatever theory it is. But as society progresses, societies use more power, and it's only a matter of time for humanity before power becomes abundant and we figure out ways to transfer it better, and we're collecting more solar energy. What or did you see the Bill Maher clip that was going around on
I didn't.
Twitter?
No, I didn't want to. I was like, I don't even want to watch this. This is gonna annoy me.
Yeah, it was super annoying. And I used to like Bill Maher, and now I think he's just lost it. Like he's not the figure he used to be when it comes to commentary. But yeah, basically he said that we're sucking up EVs are taking off the gas powered cars, and then crypto mining is sucking up all that energy. All the progress we're making is being sucked away by crypto mining, and he's trying to say 8% of all crypto money. I don't know. It's just a very surface level opinion, but if you go on that post, you can see all the Bitcoiners just beating him up in the comments. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think? Like, because we've seen, so like I said, I came in the space 2017. It was crazy ICO phase. It kind of that ended up steering me to be more of a maximalist when all these ICOs that I invested in didn't come into fruition, and convinced me to just stack Bitcoin over the years. But we've seen the ICOs, we've seen NFTs, we've seen meme coins. Do you think we're going to have another altcoin season? Do you foresee another sort of trend popping up that maybe doesn't have any value, like we've seen with some of the other things, like a lot of the shitcoin meme coins? this cycle?
I'm sure there will be some stuff like that, you know. I'm sure there will be a lot of things that get hyped up and then have a bubble and it pops and
Hmm.
I mean that happens all the time in the stock market, like scams and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there will be a lot of it, but I mean I did think the one thing that was interesting is the ordinals on Bitcoin. Uh that that was like a and we were a little bit inspired by that to like build on Bitcoin with spaces. So so yeah, I mean, in my like to me, it's like ordinals you can't do much with. Like they're just kind of like collectibles, but they still had a lot of activity and like trading value. But like with spaces, it's like kind of like an ordinal, but you can actually use it. It's something that's like useful. That's so I don't know. Maybe I'm hoping that I'm interested to see. We're planning to go live on mainnet in November. We're on testnet 4 right now, but we're planning to go live in November, and I'm interested to see what like some of these auctions go for some of these names.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people don't realize like the domain space, and like I know like I learned after Michael Saylor came into the Bitcoin how big into the domains he was, and just like even collecting names on like new social media platforms like at whatever NFL. If you're the first person to grab that, like how valuable that can be.
Yeah.
And in the domain space, in this traditional domain space, your domain expires, and like you said earlier in the in the interview, like it could be a $20 pickup worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So definitely interesting space there. But I'd like to hear from people like you who've been around the space for a long time. Like who was your first big follower influence in the space back then when you first got in, and maybe who do you like to follow now?
Yeah, you know, when I first got in, like there's some really like old OG like people like Eric Voorhees. He's awesome. I really like Eric Voorhees. Andreas Antonopoulos.
Hmm.
He's not really on Twitter anymore, but he has a Patreon
Oh, is
group,
he
and
off Twitter completely?
I think he mostly is. Like
I'm
he
gonna check
got
while you're
super.
speaking here.
So I subscribe to his like Patreon, and like he has like monthly calls, and so
Okay.
I like him too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those are some OGs I definitely look up to as well. I really like Andreas actually. He's very eloquent. Eric is very eloquent as well. Both those guys are great actually.
yeah,
I see Andreas is still on Twitter. I'm not sure how active he is. April 16th looks to be his last
yeah. I don't think he's very
tweet.
active. I think he got in some like Twitter. I don't know. It just I think what he said is like when he became that popular, it's like he would get death threats like regularly, and he's like, I'm not dealing with this. And, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Now it says it's his team in brackets on his Twitter too, so it's not his. That doesn't sound like he's controlling it now, anyways. But that's super interesting too. What do you like to do when you're not working in this space and spaces and Bitcoin and everything else? Well, how do you occupy your mind or physical exercise or any other interests?
Yeah, I mean, I run, meditate. I like chess. I play chess, like play
Oh,
um,
okay. I got
tournament
a
chess.
chess table you see right here.
Oh yeah, nice.
Hey, nice marble set there.
So, yeah, spend a lot of time with my kids. I have 2 young kids.
Okay.
So yeah,
How old are your children?
6 and 8.
Okay. I'm sure that keeps you very, very busy.
Yeah, yeah, it's getting better. I mean, when they're little, it's like hard,
Yeah.
really hard, but
Are you into mining at all?
no, not really. I mean, I have a nerd miner and I mined a little like handshake for a while, but it's interesting, but I just never like whenever I looked into it, it was like, well, I'll just buy Bitcoin instead of
Yeah.
investing in. But yeah, do you mind?
No, I mean I used to again. I went on like Nice Hash or whatever, and just like used my GPU and just converted the proceeds to Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Now I don't even bother with that. Just like you start looking into the cost of setup and everything. And you're probably better off just buying Bitcoin
Yeah.
especially right now too, right? Going right before what we expect to see a bull run right now.
Yeah.
However, the fellow I interviewed yesterday, Christian, he's a proponent of BitX. Are you familiar?
No.
Okay, so BitX is basically uses a chip from an ASIC, and you get, I don't know what it is, how much power exactly, but it's a good portion for what you're spending. They've basically take how much power it uses. It's like $15 a year, um, and it's like a lottery ticket essentially. So what they consider solo mining, which month it was, but someone had just got the first solo mining block. So it's like having a lottery ticket every 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Like really, but it does. I had him compare the odds to like saying buying a lottery ticket, and what the odds were, and the odds were better than winning the lottery.
Yeah.
But you're partaking in the Bitcoin space and decentralized mining by having this little device running, and the initial cost is like you can Google it after or something. But yeah, BitX, I think that's the name of their product, and I'm sure that'll take you right to their website if you put in BitX. But they have a few different products. It seems pretty neat, and it's just essentially a lottery ticket. And the idea that to give small solo miners an opportunity to play the game, but you might not win a block for you know your whole life, right? Very
Yeah.
easily, like many generations, you might not ever win a block, but it's like a lottery ticket, and people like playing the lottery. So same thing with buying a lottery ticket, though. You could go your whole life buying a lottery ticket every week or twice a week, 3 times a week, and never ever win, right? So maybe
Yeah.
Bitcoin proponents would want to, but yeah, what's the nerd miner? I'm not familiar with that one.
It's like this little thing. I have it right here. Let me see. It's this little device like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's basically just a USB thing. You plug it in and it mines, it starts mining, but it's like really not powerful. And at first I was like, well, this is, I mean, it's a cool thing to show people like, look, it's mining Bitcoin. I gave it to my nephews like as a gift. But then I looked up the odds and it's like way worse than Powerball or something. It's
Yeah.
like, it's like a billion times worse than,
Okay. So
but you know,
sounds like the idea is sort of like the BitX is what I'm saying, but maybe the BitX may be a little bit more modern with a little bit more
yeah,
power or something.
yeah.
That's interesting. So you got the nerd miner, you got a Bitcoin flag. Do you have any other Bitcoin paraphernalia or
This Bitcoin here, let me just get this thing.
wow.
Got my Bitcoin necklace. It's 3D printed.
Wow, where did you get that, man?
I bought this on Etsy.
Wow.
You can, yeah, I found this. You could like, if you have a 3D printer, they have the prints out there. You could just print it yourself.
Yeah. Oh man, you should totally show up to your next podcast wearing that with some sunglasses or something. That's pretty
Yeah.
badass. Oh man, I have like a little like neck. I think I got it off Amazon. It's like just a little chain with like a pendant like that of Bitcoin, and
Yeah, you
and
got a
people made comments about that. I can't imagine what they'll say about that one, man. That's
yeah.
hilarious. That's cool, man. What do you like to use for cold storage? Are you're a big proponent of self custody?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff out there. I think Trezor's good for some, but then there's that, I forget the name of the one where you don't even connect it to a computer. Yeah, I really like that one. I think that one's pretty cool too. Like to do transactions, you don't even connect it to a computer. So it
Hmm.
never has to be connected to a computer, and like you can like just copy the transaction to like a little one of those little tiny flash drive things and like a memory card thing, and then and then you transfer that to your computer to do the
Is that the cold
transaction.
card?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, the cold
Okay.
card. Yeah.
By CoinKite,
Yes.
I do
Yeah.
believe. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, they're the same ones that make the block clock and all that too, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, no, I like the Trezor. I had a BitFi to start, and then I started using the Trezor. But yeah, no, I try not to get in between what people like to use for cold storage, as long as it's reputable company, and you are actually using cold storage. That's the most important thing, right?
Yeah. I also got this I think this is it. Yeah, right here. I got one of these bit
BitKey.
keys. Yeah.
What
I
is the
haven't
BitKey?
I think it's like Jack Dorsey company. It's a cold storage wallet too.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't tried it out yet. I just got it and
That's
yeah.
interesting. Yeah, no, I really like Jack. I'm gonna type that in because
kind of cool. It's like a little
BitKey,
similar.
Bitcoin, easy to use, hard to lose. BitKey combines the convenience of an exchange with the security of a hardware wallet. Interesting. I'm definitely going to partner with Coinbase, Cash App, and MoonPay. Hmm. Definitely gonna check that out after. That's cool. Cool, man. What would people that maybe want to follow your footsteps into the Bitcoin decentralized identity space, what advice would you give them?
Well, yeah, if you want to check out Spaces, it's spacesprotocol.org. Go to there, and that'll give that has like the white paper and also instructions of how to test it out on testnet 4. You could also just follow me on Twitter. If you go to cypherpunk.com, it'll redirect to my Twitter. And I'll announce like the dates of when we're going to go live on mainnet and stuff. So yeah.
Very cool. Do you have any favorite books or resources in this space?
I did read Andreas Antonopoulos' Mastering Bitcoin. I think that's a good one. I mean, if you really want to get into like some of the technical details and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great one. I mean, if you read that, like, you'll really have a good understanding of Bitcoin.
Yeah, definitely. I have Mastering Bitcoin and tried, following along a little bit, and it is, certainly super technical. But I've collected a bunch of Bitcoin books at this, and eventually just, you've read enough about Bitcoin, you understand it as like a whole, but like you want to start getting into the technical. Mastering Bitcoin is certainly the place to be for that. I don't know what other book is more technical than that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you give us a price prediction? What's your price high this cycle, and what do you think maybe we correct back down to? Not financial advice, of course.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, I think it's definitely going over 100. I wouldn't be surprised if it went over 200 or more. And then the correction back, it'll be painful. I mean, at least if it follows like the last bear market, it's like painful. It goes way low than you want it to. But so yeah, I don't know. If I had to give a rough guess, I would say we could we could get up to maybe over 200 or around 200, a little bit below 200, and then but maybe it could go way higher. Who knows if the mania hits? But then the correction, who knows? It could come back down under 100.
Some pretty modest predictions there. Yeah, I like that though. Sweet, man. So we're gonna keep up with you and wait for you said November launch, right?
Yeah.
November launch. We'll include the links in the show notes and everything else. Is there anything that we missed today that maybe you want to mention? If not, maybe where can we follow you and learn more?
Yeah, just easiest way is to go to cypherpunk.com, and that just redirects to my Twitter, and then you can find out all the stuff about spaces from there. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on the show. It's good to meet you and talk to you.
Yeah, likewise, Mike. One final request. Do you mind holding up your chain one more time? And
Yeah,
I can
sure.
take a screenshot maybe for the cover art of this episode.
Okay, there you go.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing the Halving Report podcast, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.